Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to each of you, your family and friends, for this historic opportunity. Mrs. Dillon, I thank you for coming by the office. Though we may not agree on many issues, I certainly respected the exchange. And I want to say for the record, I'm still proud of the fact that the Sikh community came to me after 9/11 and asked me to introduce a resolution which said that there should not be any discrimination against those who follow your religion as a result of 9/11. It passed on a bipartisan basis. George W. Bush, as president, I think showed real leadership on that and many other issues. I also held a hearing in this committee when we had the terrible incident at the Gadwala in Wisconsin where a white supremacist killed innocent people of the Sikh community. We had a hearing on that and packed the room with those who were interested in making sure that that never happens again. I'd like to go to specific questions, if I can, of the nominees. Mr. Reitz, have you ever expressed support for the idea that an elected official should defy a federal court order?
Thank you, Ranking Member Durbin. I'm not aware of any instances at this time of having made such an assertion.
So let me remind you of a statement that you made. On March 30th, 2020, U.S. District Judge Lee Yackel, a George W. Bush appointee, temporarily blocked Texas from closing abortion clinics as a response to the state's COVID-19 outbreak. You commented on this and wrote, looking for some Andrew Jackson-level leadership on this one. Judge Yackel has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. This was an obvious reference to the fictitious story about language supposedly used by Andrew Jackson and suggesting he would defy a Supreme Court ruling in Worcester versus Georgia. Do you stand by your tweet?
Thank you for reminding me of this tweet, Ranking Member Durbin. What this tweet reflects is a conservative view of Article 3 and the role of courts and their ability to bind parties that are not litigants to the case before it, which is a mainstream view within jurisprudential debates, but captured in 140 characters on a tweet.
Bottom line, should an elected official be allowed to defy a federal court order?
It would be too case-specific for me to make a blanket statement about that, Ranking Member Durbin.
So you're saying that a legal court order from a federal court should not be followed under some circumstances? What would those circumstances be?
Ranking Member Durbin, what I'm saying is that there are some instances in which a public official is lawfully bound by the holding of a particular court, in which case that official would, in fact, lawfully be required to be bound by it. I can't speak, though, Ranking Member Durbin, for all instances in which that dynamic may or may not be at play given a certain lawsuit.
That's an incredible statement by someone who wants to be part of the Department of Justice. Mr. Sauer, what's your take on this?
Ranking Member Durbin, thank you for the question. Like Mr. Reitz, I don't want to speak to hypotheticals, especially not hypotheticals that might come before me in an official capacity if I were confirmed by the Senate. Generally, if there's a direct court order that binds a federal or state official, they should follow it.
Why do you say generally? Give me an exception that would be acceptable to you.
I suppose if as I sit here, I can't think of a hypothetical one way or the other. I suppose one could imagine hypotheticals in extreme cases like the Korematsu decision, the Dred Scott decision, where people.
Let's go back to Korematsu. Describe for me that circumstance that you think relieved an official from obeying a court order.
Well, I believe there was a court order there that upheld. Which has now been, I think, correctly repudiated by virtually everyone, a court order that upheld the internment of Japanese civilians in internment camps during...
As bad as it was, that court order was followed for years, was it not?
And I just wonder whether some historians might think we'd be better off if it hadn't been followed.
But once we
I don't want to get into
I want to get into it because I think it goes to the heart of the question of the future constitutional challenge we face as a nation. There's a great fear among many people, academics and people in the legal profession, as to whether or not this president would defy a court order which basically would put him above the law, at least in his own eyes. And I want to know what circumstances Mr. Reitz and Mr. Sauer believe justify that conclusion.
And you can answer that quickly. We've run out of time.
Very quickly, I've represented President Trump for the better part of 2 years, and I just think that that's not a plausible scenario.
You say the same, Mr. Reitz?
You've run out of time, Ranking Member. Thank you.